All right, what's up, everybody? This is Ace of Next Fan Ben, and here we're going to build the Fancy from Golden Age of Piracy Part 1. So this is a three-mast A ship type. This is actually not Henry Every's Fancy. It's actually linked to Edward England. So he actually named one of his ships after the one that Every had. Probably the more famous Fancy is the one that Henry Every commanded. So this one has artwork based on Wendy Cannon she had as a historical ship. And then, of course, we don't have like contemporary, paintings or artwork of her for the most part, at least not up close or anything. So I just kind of did what I wanted to make the ship look reasonably realistic for hull and sails, things like that. Got a gradient with some watercolor texture on the sails and made sure to include one of Edward England's pirate flags on one of the sails of the mainmast. So I'm gonna pop these pieces out. Just like with my other laser cutting stuff, it's best to look for the nubs, which are usually at like endpoints or like top and bottom of masts. So that's where the laser cutter doesn't cut on purpose to make sure that I don't have the pieces popping out of the cards when the styrene sheet is still in the laser cutter. So there's card two. Of course, if you've already played this game, this is likely one of the ship types you've already built potentially many times if you're been in the game for a long time or got into it with Spanish Main, things like that. So I usually just go from the starboard quarter. So we're gonna pop this in here. So we got our whole piece. That looks pretty good, nice and tight. Nice. Alrighty. This one I made sure to test, as always, tested the outlines in advance on like blank styrene or some of the scrap styrene that didn't get printed properly. So sometimes I pre-slot these a little bit, especially here, because sometimes the quarter deck gets a little bit tight. For some reason, the laser cutter doesn't want to cut the quarter deck slots at the same exact width, which is really bizarre because I know for a fact that the slots are the same in the files. I've already double checked that, even within this exact laser cut file and whatnot in Lightburn, but oh well. It's a community laser cutter and kind of old now, so sometimes it just doesn't provide a result that is like perfect. But do a little bit of pre-slotting to widen it, and then it should go just fine. So I don't know if that'll be the case with one of the masts too. I'm just going to kind of pre-slot the main mast just a little bit. Yeah, get that satisfying pop sound. So pretty tight, but always better to have too tight than too loose. Obviously, too loose is absolutely deal breaker because then you can't even build the ship or keep it constructed. It won't even be playable. So I always err on the side of too tight just to make sure. And then I'm gonna pre-slot this mizzen as well into the quarter deck. Sometimes this is what I do. I do slots, tabs into slots in isolation, so that then when I go to build it in full, when I have less control over these quarter deck slots and less like pressure points where I want, then once it's pre-slotted, it'll be easier to get on there. So yeah, quarter deck wants to be really tight on the starboard side. So okay, there we go. And then port side, it's not as tight. It's more perfect, basically. Okay, yep, nice. So sometimes, yeah, like I said, sometimes the laser cutter does not want to cooperate, unfortunately. Even though, like I said, the files are perfect and the test cut went great, and then sometimes it just doesn't want to cooperate. I think it has something to do in this case, something to do with the diagonal lines. Didn't want to cut perfectly, but anyway, got the stern flag on there, so we're almost done with Fancy. This is a pirate ship from Golden Age of Piracy. She sailed back in the early 1700s under Edward England, one of the more famous and successful pirates of the day. So there we have it. So sometimes I do a little bit of a mast bend, just a tiny bit, just to make sure. I like having the mast be at pretty much the same angle for each one. So there's that. There's Fancy. So check it out on pirateswithben.com/store to get your own copy. Thanks for watching.